Hey, welcome back to day 3 of the 5-day sales fast track. Today, we're going to be talking about a concept called reverse selling and how to close the sale. This is assuming that you've watched every other video up until now because they're really important. Okay. So please don't skip any because these stack on top of each other. On day 1, we talked about the key shifts that have happened in sales that have made sales exponentially harder and how we need to operate. Day 2, we talked about the code of the sale. So what we need to do in our buyer's brain in order to unlock the buying response, because the close follows the 80-20 rule, right? This reverse selling, when we get the prospects to sell themselves to us, is only as good as the discovery process that we've done. So whenever I'm coaching these calls, I've coached hundreds, maybe even thousands of hours of sales calls. It always comes back to the discovery. There was probably something missing in the discovery, which is why we got the objection, which is why we got the sale didn't close, right? So let's dig into today, how do we get prospects to close, featuring something that we call reverse selling. And the key idea here is it is so much more persuasive for your prospect to get to sell themselves to you, to tell you why they want to do something, rather than us try to tell them what they need to do. The other beautiful thing about this is we don't ever do overselling. I don't know if you've ever had this experience where someone has said, you get this and you get this. And you're like, but I don't need those things, right? And sometimes it even puts you. So when we sell this way, they actually tell us what they need and we prescribe the solution. There's no overselling. There's no introducing of objections. That's another thing that's happened. If we yap on too much, we could potentially create objections. So this is it's precision selling, really. It's making sure there's no fluff. They get exactly what they need. We don't introduce objections. They come to us. They close on us. And it's this, when you get this right, there's a feeling that happens. I've seen. I remember when I was teaching a client how to do this, we were at a co-working space in Melbourne and she was taking a sales call at like 6 p.m. at night and we were just, sort of hanging out at the co-working space. I said, well, why don't I teach you how to close this deal? And she was like, what? And I was like, cool, let's go over to the whiteboard, put them on speaker and I'll take you through this. So I drew up on the board, I drew the code of the sale for her. I gave her those 3 boxes that we talked about yesterday, emotions, logics, and time, right? So she could create this gap. And I walked her through and I just pointed to each one. And so I pointed to the emotion and she asked an emotional question. I pointed to the logic. She asked a logical question. She did this 3 times for each one in the past and the future. She used time to stretch it out. And then I introduced her to the close. And in that moment, you could tell she was so excited because this prospect was ready to go, right? They actually said the words, how do I work with you? So this is what happens when you delay it, when you tease it, you don't rush to the sale. There's so many dirty jokes that we can make right now, but we won't. But, if you just take your time, you slow down, you enjoy the process, if you know what I'm saying, and we just let ourselves just take our time to get through, the natural tension will get the prospect to pop. Sale is when the person says, all right, man, how do we do this? How do I work with you? And that happens to me more than I would care to admit. It's the best feeling because there's no actual selling involved. It's just a formality. You're just facilitating a decision. So let's talk about how do we get to do this. So phase 1 is we get them to sell themselves to you. At this stage, it's really common for salespeople to get overexcited. They can feel the momentum building and they just want to rush into their education around, yeah, we do this and we do this and we do this and blah, blah. This is a mistake. Don't waste all of your hard work right now. Let the momentum of the sales call flow through here to build to a natural peak and climax. Come on, Colonel, get your mind out of the gutter. So what we're looking for is, so how do I work with you? How do we do that? And it's this real pop feeling that you just know, man, this is incredible. This is like I'm in the right space. I'm in the zone right now. I'm ready to send this home. So what we need to do here is we need to transition from the problem that we've created, these 3, and we need to move from discovery to close. Now, what I mentioned in day 1 is we want to treat these 2 processes different. Discovery is detached from the close. The close is detached from discovery. So once we've reached this point and we've done discovery well, now we can be salespeople. This is where we've earned the right to pitch because we've taken our time, we've investigated their problems, we've been curious, we've expanded, we've elaborated. They now feel understood. So now we have permission to pitch, but we will not pitch yet. So we will get into that. So what we say is, okay, so we've talked about your 3 emotions. So we've talked about your frustration in the sales, your hopelessness, and your confusion. And we've talked about how it's had low conversions, it's $45,000 a month being left on the table, and you're getting too many objections. We also talked about how solving this problem would create a sense of security. You'd be excited to sales calls. You'd probably feel passionate about your business again. And that extra $45,000 a month would just completely change the scope of the business. You'd probably go on holiday, you'd take a trip somewhere, and your profitability would skyrocket, but pay off some of that debt. Did I get all of that? And we're looking for a yes here. So this is Cialdini's law of consistency and commitment, because we want these soft yeses. It's also known as stacking the yeses. So what we've done here is we've summarized the problem by mentioning the 3 emotion, the 3 logic, and we've got them to buy into it, right? By asking the question, does that sound like we've got all of it? Now, this question is magical because if they accept this, they accept the fact that we understand their problem. And this is a really critical part of the sales process. Does that sound like we got all of it? And when they say yes, what they're doing is they're subconsciously accepting that we understand them. We understand their problem. They feel heard and understood. This is key to making the sale happen. Now, if they say no, we just go into it. Okay, cool. So what did we miss? Right? And be curious. The beautiful thing about selling this way is like, even if you get a no, if you get anything else, it's just more information. And we just flow with that information. Does that sound like we got all of it? Really important. They say yes. We can even double down and say, is there anything that you would add? And they go, no, that's all of it. Even better, right? So more yeses stacking in. Then we go into, is it cool if we talk about some potential options? So now we're looking at permission to pitch. Of course it's cool, right? Like I know it's cool to pitch. But what we're doing here, Cialdini's law of consistency and commitment. This is the third yes. This is the third buy-in that we've got from them. So now they really want to know. We can feel that tension building. And so instead of us telling them what we do, we actually ask the question. So what would you need from us in order to make this happen? What would you need from us in order to improve your conversion rate so you can start making more money in your business? This is the magic, right? So we stop talking here. We let them tell us. We let them sell us. This is why. This is what I need. This is what I blah, blah, blah. All of these things. We just let them pile it on. So why not just tell them what they need at the stage? 2 reasons. We can create potential objections by over-prescribing solutions and overselling. You don't want to do that. Number 2, it's more persuasive for them to tell us what they need. And it's also more accurate, right? For that reason, we don't want to give them something that they don't want. Also, if they accept our question, they have primed themselves to recognize that there is a problem. Pay particular attention to their language and your responses. If they accept this question, what do you need from us in order to make this happen? They're accepting the presupposition that we can help them make it happen, which is beautiful. This is what we want them to accept and understand from us. It's like, yes, we can help you. That they accept that if they answer our question. So if they say, yeah, look, I'd like this, I'd like this, I'd like this. One of the things that can often come up is someone's got, well, what if they turn around and they say to me, like, I don't know, this is fine. Don't stress about that. It's kind of like a little test. They're trying to steal the frame from you at this point. Now, a frame is, it's sort of like a social construct of who is the authority, who's in charge. We haven't really gotten to framing because it's a bit of an advanced concept that, if you're just wanting to make some more sales, you don't necessarily need to know right now. But a framing is like a social construct of who's the authority. The easiest way to understand who has the frame is who's asking the questions and who's answering. As long as you're asking the questions, you maintain the frame. We need to maintain the frame to make the sale. So if they turn around and they say something like, but I don't know, that's what I'm talking to you for. You go, yeah, that's totally fine. I have a really good plan, but I just want to hear from you. What do you need from us in order to achieve that outcome? So we flip it back to them, right? And get them to tell us what they need. And so while they tell us what they need to solve their problems, your job is just to match what you have with that. So don't mention the things you can't handle. So if you came to me and you said, look, Caleb, I'd want some training on how to close. Like, yeah, cool, we can do that. I want to learn how to prevent objections. Yeah, cool, we can do that. And like, I just want to feel more confident in my ability. Yeah, we got all of that. If the person says, like, I want to learn how to do a handstand, I will go, no, we don't do that. And so most people think that's a bad thing, right? It's not a bad thing. It actually increases your trust and authority when you say, no, we don't do that. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to over-justify. You say, no, we don't do that, right? Because it's not necessarily about the answer. It's the fact that they are doing the selling. So every time they tell you something, you say, yes, we can, no, we can't. They're selling to you, which is great. So what do you do if they say, I don't know, that's why I hire you? This is good. Still means they want to buy. Just gently redirect them. Don't let them steal the frame. I have an idea of where we can go. I just want to hear from you what you think in order to achieve ABC. So let me just play this out for you, right? As it would happen in a sales conversation. I would get to the summary and say, sales related, blah, 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 goal. What do you need from us in order to make this happen? Now you might turn around and say, I need some of A, I need some of B, I need some of C. I say, yeah, cool. We got all that. That's all good. Yeah, we got that. Sweet. Anything else? I want to learn how to do handstands. No, we don't do handstands. Is there anything else that you need in order to increase your sales results? No, that's all of it. Okay, cool. So we got all of that and a bunch more. I just have a couple more questions now that I'd like to ask you just to make sure that we can fully help you solve this problem. So what we're doing at that last part there, and just notice the tonality as well. It's not accusatory. It's not overly friendly. It's just matter of fact. It's like, okay, cool. No, we can't. Cool. All good. No stress. Certainty driven. And what we're then doing is we're setting up for the second phase, which we're going to cover tomorrow, of pre-handling objections. Right? So making sure that the objections don't trip us up. We do something called reverse qualification in order to get rid of those objections. So what we've done so far today is we've learned how to reverse sell by summarizing and walking through the steps. Then tomorrow we're going to learn how to reverse qualify. But if you want to skip ahead, all the links will be in the emails and down below and in your portal. Join us tomorrow to figure out how we pre-handle those objections so we can get rid of pesky things like time, competition, think about it, and potentially even money as well. All right, I'll see you tomorrow.